So somewhere in your process, there's a tiny change that you can make in order to make it 3 times more effective, or effective is faster or higher quality. But how do you find it? And so my role is to help you find it by providing Camunda Optimize. And 3.8 has some significant changes to help you along that journey. So why am I talking about 3.8 when everything else is Camunda Platform 8.0 instead? It's because Camunda Optimize is compatible with both C7 and C8. It's the same package, it's the same code, just running in a different environment. And because it's running in that different environment, the behavior is a little bit different. C7 is, for the enterprise customers, is very similar to C8 self-managed, but SaaS is a little bit of a different beast. You have an automatically spun up optimized cluster, as you can see. The data automatically gets pulled in, and so you can get started immediately. And the thing that you're going to do with that is to try to align business and IT all the way from the top to the bottom. So starting at the top, you have your business leaders who are able to evaluate the success of the different initiatives towards automation across the company. At the process level, you can figure out what exactly is going wrong, how to fix it, and then with a number of different visualizations or tools, be able to tell the story in order to get the rest of the stakeholders on board, to explain to the other teammates that you have on what they need to do in order to fix it. And while they're making those changes, you can track important KPIs, key performance indicators, and watch when those dip below a certain threshold and you need to take action, or you've made some progress against it and you need to share some of the success with your stakeholders. So let's get started. All right. So the process that I want to describe to you is a little bit more leveled up of the customer onboarding. And this particular example is for a generic financial service that you're providing. So the customer provides an application. There's a service task that gets the credit score so that there's some automatic triage based on a decision table. And for customers where there's a low or no risk, then the application is automatically approved, automatic application issued, never sees a human's eyes. Same thing for red, where those are automatically rejected. But the area that the business is focused on, and the area where a lot of things tend to stall, is in this human-based escalation process, where it sometimes needs to go back to the original customer that requested it, or it needs to go up to a supervisor in order to accelerate that decision making. And then once that decision is made, then it's either accepted or rejected. And so you can imagine that this is just one process within a field of a number of different processes. And so we've introduced the processes page, which is a little bit different view on how all of your processes that you have that are pulled into a single optimized instance. So you can see here that I have 5 different processes, and that I, as demo, the noble and amazing optimizer, am working on this customer onboarding process. And so I want to set some goals around how long this process should take. And so what you can see right now is that most of these applications are handled almost immediately. But then there's this really long tail of instances that in some cases take all the way up to almost 2 months to complete. And this is where we're getting a lot of complaints from our customers. And so in this fictional example, we want to, do right by our customers. We want to make a promise that they're going to get their application service within a reasonable amount of time. What's reasonable? That's a discussion between the business and IT. But ultimately, let's say we decided on 1 week. And we want to set a service level agreement. This is something that we always want to meet. By comparison, we also have a target value. Let's say that aspirationally, we want to automate 90% of our tasks, and we want them to take no more than 3 minutes. So Optimize suggests some passing values, but also lets you tune it in order to get something that you're interested in. And so you can see here that this pops to the top of the list, and this needs the most attention. So how do we fix it? Here we go over to the dashboard view. And you've seen something like this before. You have the ability to create a dashboard relatively quickly. I'm not going to rehash that particular part, but I will highlight the area on the top. This is your KPI section, the key performance indicators. And this is the definition between the business and the IT of what is good for a particular process. And so for this particular example, we want our SLA is that we have all processes, or 99 at least percent of them, done within 1 week. We want 90% of these processes to be completely automated and never see this middle escalation path. And then there are a number of different second tier KPIs that you can create to give you an idea about how best to improve it. But what's the actual problem? You can see here that the biggest issue is this time, where it's taking 11 times as long as it's supposed to. But why? And so we still offer the same set of heat maps, and there are two different views in this case. This top view is time-based. And so by looking at this heat map, there's almost nothing in these automated paths, but all of the heat, all of the time that's being spent is in this manual process. In particular, it takes about 10 days to get a document back once you request it. There's no way that you can expect a document to come back in 10 days and still meet this goal. So you can say that this is the core of our problem, trying to deal with this manual process specifically around requesting this document. In terms of some additional problems that you can see, you could also say that although there are only 388 applications that go through this route, it hits these manual tasks over and over. There's a loop, it goes back and forth between the clerk and the customer and the clerk and the customer. You can see here some other secondary problems, such as these processes, these applications that are the outliers taking the most time are getting worse and worse over time. And what's more, you can also see that the applications are steadily increasing. This load on the clerks is increasing to the point where something might get lost or they're just unable to handle it. And so there are a lot of different solutions. You could try to upgrade your DMN table in order to process more instances automatically. You could introduce a step here such that you don't have to request a document manually. It's automatically done. There's a number of different solutions, and the thing that kicks this off is a conversation between the business and the IT looking at this shared data and brainstorming some ways to improve it. And if you want to, you can do some more detailed views. You can compare how long each of these nodes takes. You can see which documents are actually requested and what is their impact. How long does it take? Or you can take a look at the list of all the different applications that are overdue and just try to clear those out from top to bottom. And so you have this information, you have this story to tell, but how do you share it with people? One option is just throw it on a screen and present like I'm doing right now. Another option is to set alerts. And so what I've done is I've created a set of alerts where you can see the number of automated process instances. If that runs below 90%, then I want to get an alert. And so you can monitor these values without paying attention to them. You'll get an email automatically. And lastly, if you need to share with a stakeholder and have a discussion, you have the ability to share these dashboards and reports either as a link or as an embed. And so overall, you have the information that you need to go from which process do I care about, which KPI do I need to improve, what are the exact root cause problems, and how do I have a discussion with my stakeholders on how to improve it. And so now that this data is available to you, what do you want to do with it? Thank you.